welcome to another Digital Jamaica Live. I'm your host, Katie Francis. Shout out to our viewers on YouTube, LinkedIn, and today we're on Twitter. So whether you're watching us live or you're watching the replay, welcome and thanks for tuning in to another show. So we have a really interesting conversation coming up. I have Chris in the studio, and I'm talking to Chris about intentionality versus action because we are always hashtagging buy black, buy local, buy Caribbean, Caribbean pride, and all that good stuff. And since the pandemic, everybody has been talking about tech, everything is digital. Yet still, when it comes to actually putting our money where our intentions are, it's not really happening, at least not in a way that will sustain Caribbean tech companies. And I'm talking particularly about SaaS companies, which is software as a service company. So companies that develop software products that are put on the market for us to use, but the adoption is not there. Maybe it's an issue of product market fit. Maybe they're not making the right products for the market. Maybe it is that they're not marketing the product properly. I suspect though it's a combination of things. So maybe those two things, but there's also hesitation when it comes to actually supporting or using Caribbean based tech products. Sometimes it's a matter of, is it good enough? Is it as good as products that are on the market from non-Caribbean tech makers? Or is it that I can trust this company to make a product that will actually work or it actually suit my needs as a business or as an individual? There's a combination of things happening there. And so I'm talking to Christopher Gayle, CEO and founder of Gizada Software, which is a local SaaS company. And he's going to talk to us about some of his experience running a local SaaS company. What's that like? What's it like in terms of creating products? What's the buy-in to these products? And some of the challenges that he faces generally running a company like his. So that's coming up next. Right after that, I'm going to be talking to Kristofferson Nunes. I always call him Christopher. Kristofferson Nunes, and he's going to be talking to us about a collaboration between his company, One on One Education Services, where he's a marketing coordinator, and GSS Jamaica. They're running a summer training program for youths and young professionals that you definitely need to know about. And so we're going to be talking to Kristofferson about that coming up shortly. But before we do that, this show would not be possible without our sponsors, G5 Cybersecurity. So we want to shout them out. G5 Cybersecurity is a cybersecurity company, and they specialize in protecting businesses from cybersecurity breaches, right? Especially small businesses. So if you are interested in assessing your company's network for security vulnerabilities and also to see if you comply with the Jamaica Data Protection Act, because that's important, go on over to www.g5cybersecurity.com and get a free consultation. So now, Christopher Gayle, as I said before, he's a Jamaican-born entrepreneur, and this is a shameless plug. I interviewed Christopher on the Digital Jamaica podcast. I think Christopher was one of my earliest guests on the show because he has a very interesting background in terms of how he started out in tech and a whole the back of Christopher. You need to tell me which company was it that sent you a cease and desist. Sent you a cease and desist letter when you were a teen. But Christopher went to university to study and realized that he was a little bit more advanced than the curriculum there. So he dropped out and kind of taught himself software development. And he has been making great strides in that space since then. He's one of my favorite tech persons in anywhere, to be quite honest with you, because he's very accessible and he's very open to actually talking about what's happening in that space and what he's doing in that space. And I know he's very big on experiential tech. I don't even know if that's a thing, but What I mean by experiential tech is tech that is built based on the needs of the target audience or the target market. So, what are some of the problems that we have in Jamaica, and how can we build tech to solve those problems? That's where Christopher and I see eye to eye, because I believe that that's the purpose of tech, right? To solve problems. Why not make tech for our particular problems? So, you've seen Christopher in the news. He has worked with, I think it was NCB for Q Mall. He can correct me if I'm wrong. You've seen Get There, which was one of the earliest ride sharing apps that I can remember. And he has had several other products out on the market. So Christopher joins us now. Welcome, Christopher. We're not hearing you. I think.
Muted.
Hey, there you are.
Clear?
There you are. I can hear you now. So thanks for joining us on the show this morning. So give us a little bit of background. I was telling our viewers about our the podcast episode that we had before in your season. This is like was it Dragon Ball Z? Which company was it?
Yeah, so when I started programming, it was games that got me in the first place.
Yeah.
But around fourth form, or I think, a group of us, they sent us a letter to say, you guys need to cut this out because too many people were getting interested and we were using the names like characters. They were like, you guys can't be doing this to make your game more popular.
So you're chipping in and out a little bit, Christopher. I don't know if you have a headphone. Maybe that would help.
Or,
Are you using a headphone right now?
how do I sound now? Any better? Any
You
more
sound
sense?
better, but you're just chipping it out. So let's watch that a little bit. But Christopher, I want to talk to you about Gizada, Gizada software. It's a. Am I right to say that it's a SaaS company?
Well, I would say that Gizzard is a software development company.
Mm.
That's part.
That creates SaaS products. Okay. So what is it? What was the whole rationale behind starting Gizada software, and what has it been like briefly? What has that been like getting started and getting to the point where you are now, where you are actually creating products for the market?
So we started Gizado as a web development agency. And the reason being there was we needed to invest in developing SaaS products for the market. We could have launched.
You're still chipping in and out, Christopher. Are you
Okay,
using a headphone?
not anymore. Right. What do I sound now?
Yeah, let's try that.
Let's try this one.
Yeah. So you were saying.
Right. So I was saying, we started Gizada to just generate revenue as a web development agency so that we could finance our SaaS products. When we launched Get There, we realized, it's very expensive to convince an entire country to change their habits.
Yeah.
That was in 2016. Fast forward to now, the attitude towards software has evolved a lot in Jamaica, but we understood that we needed to change our strategy because we couldn't create a marketplace without pouring a lot of money into, education first. And as a small company, that's not the best approach for us. So we took a few pivots. We developed an agency so that we would have a revenue stream to invest in our SaaS platforms. And then
Mhm.
we started to focus more on our current flagship platform called Jamaica, and that is like Wix or Squarespace for Jamaican website developers. So that is working out better for us. It requires less marketing. As long as our customers are satisfied, we keep them, and so far so good.
So
So
far.
we're so we're building upon that, and once we do get to a certain stage, we do intend to create more marketplaces, more solutions that don't require where we don't require a lot of revenue to be generated from them, especially in the early phases.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that you had to go a bit lean in terms of
Hmm.
your startup to be able to support the development of these products that you're bringing into the market. Why
Right.
did is it that you were is it was it an issue of getting investment into a company like yours, or were you intentionally avoiding going the maybe venture capital investment route?
Um, I don't want to say that it was an issue. Maybe I didn't try hard enough.
Mm,
I didn't like the amount of time that I saw needed to be invested in courting and going. There's no open forum or very few open forums for you to really do these engagements. And it felt
mm,
like when I started trying a lot of running people down, it wasn't really like people were truly interested.
mm.
So I didn't want to invest too much time in, I guess, quote unquote, begging it out when I knew what I had. And it was better for me to invest my time in actually building that up versus spending months on end, chasing people down and then having to consistently report and so on and so forth. I thought it would be better to prove it, especially because, I mean, I'm coming from the development background. So I don't need the revenue, I don't need the funding to necessarily build. So I'll go ahead and build. And then when I have it built, I'll see if people want to partner in opening up more markets.
Do you think that's a hindrance though for for tech startups, in terms of the tedious process that they go through in terms of courting investors and getting people interested? And do you think
Right.
that that's a hindrance to the growth of some of these tech startups, or even to get them started?
I I mean everything is good thing, bad thing. I'm definitely going to think it's a hindrance to me. But
Yeah.
I've seen where the process is necessary, I guess as a filter and also as a it helps people to know some of the standards that they need to meet, and provide some education, some targets that they'll eventually have to satisfy if they're going to be running a large company. I just
Mm,
think that when you're starting an idea, I guess this is, it's an incubation phase. I think
mm,
a lot of what medium or large enterprise is going to be doing is completely pointless for a small, tiny startup, an idea that's being developed to focus on doing before they get to that stage. So I think compliance is important, but at the same time, investors are looking for startups to be compliant in Jamaica, and I think that's putting the egg before the chicken, or I guess whichever way you choose to
which
look at
are
that paradox.
yes, it's like, because what I've noticed, there's a risk averseness when it comes to investing, and it's transferred over into the tech space, unlike
Mhm.
in other markets where you can raise a lot of money just on a concept. Look at Adam
On a
Newman,
concept, right, right,
massive
exactly.
failures multiple time, and he can
Those
still
those things
raise.
are not happening in the
It's not
Caribbean,
happening, right? He can still raise millions of dollars for
right?
two concept
Yep.
ideas. One that is not really even anything new, it's just a
Yep.
repackaged idea. But the point is, he can still they can still raise. Clubhouse is another example
Hmm.
of investing in a concept. Even Facebook
Hmm.
was another example of investing in a concept. But you don't see
Right.
that happening here. It seems as if in our market there has to be proof that this thing
Yes.
will absolutely work,
Right.
right? Before investing. And that, again, is another hindrance to growth, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it creates a situation where most startups or ideas are not worth getting started or pursuing, especially not for small time companies. So I think what you find is companies get to a certain stage and then they try to create a lot of different products because they are the only ones in the market that can actually survive to build products.
Right.
Whereas there's thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, trying to provide different solutions to all types of problems in the region. But without some amount of support, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible. And I
It's
think
not.
it's unfair to ask entrepreneurs to make that sacrifice.
That is true, but I'm gonna go there. There's also a Caucasian problem, and I'll explain. And I don't want to drag you into this, but it is true. You find that even with government, they're having new programs or something coming in, and they immediately, it seems that they automatically go overseas or look overseas to
Right.
companies in other markets, usually Caucasian, in other
Yeah.
markets for these kinds of solutions, where when In a lot of
Mhm.
cases, in some instances, not all, but in some instances, there are local providers who have built these
Mhm.
solutions, who have ready solutions that they can
Right.
provide,
Right.
but they're not, there's no take up. Why do you think that is?
Um,
At the risk
there's
of not.
definitely there is, yes. Let me be careful.
Yeah.
There's definitely, I think you inherit prejudice in certain
Mhm.
ways, even if it's invisible. So I don't know that today's decision makers are operating on the same prejudice that past decision makers are known to have operated under. But what happens is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if in the 1980s you're unwilling to invest in people of color to develop certain things, fast forward to 2020s, the people who have developed those things and have more robust versions of these things are all abroad as well because you underinvested in your local space for decades. So you turn around now and say, oh, but they don't have anything that's good. It's still your fault in the sense that you didn't cultivate the space. So you can't neglect your crop and then expect to reap. So I think what you have is just we've inherited the results of like decades of that type of business prejudice, and it's very, very difficult for entrepreneurs or developers like myself to prove against um, decades of a lead that foreign entities have on us. But we just have to find creative ways to still come out on top. And I think that's what all of the people who are still trying in Jamaica right now are doing. Still
Yeah.
trying to find a creative way to end up on top.
And sometimes, being creative means having to do it yourself, having
Hmm.
to like go the route that you go, not depending on government to actually do it, but the
Hmm.
community coming together and try doing it yourselves. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's unfortunate because again, since COVID, everything is about tech and digital, and now we're
Hmm.
talking about coding and hackathons and stuff like that. But some basic things that we can do to support the growth of tech in Jamaica and the Caribbean. It's almost as if we're they're not tuned in to some of those things. But what you said about inheriting bias, it's part of some prevailing sentiments that we tend to have about Caribbean businesses, not just tech, but Caribbean businesses, and you find
Hmm.
that that's coming over into the tech space. But some of these prevailing sentiments can be harmful to the growth of tech startups, Christopher.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, there is a sentiment of inferiority, like
Hmm.
the products may not be good enough. How do you overcome as a small business, how do you overcome something like that?
I guess I'd play with it, to be honest. You
Mhm.
know, no one expects a Rastaman to be programming. So it's like I play with it. I think everyone their first impression of me is different. And I guess when I start to speak about my subject matter, the lasting impression that I leave on them is much greater. So I I can't avoid it. I guess I just embrace it and I focus on the merit.
Yeah.
I think if a lot of people doubt you for an extended period of time, but it's impossible for them to prove you wrong at a certain point in time, a switch goes off in their mind where they're like, oh no, like, that person is the truth.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I just keep doing. I just keep on proving that, like, I'm really, really good at what I'm doing. So I hope that over time, as I continue to represent and just push forward all the solutions that I make, that I will have enough people, a critical mass of people who trust what I'm doing, and that would just spread to everybody else, essentially. So it will just, cascade, or that is my hope.
Okay, so the more you continue to develop products and put products out into the market, and people
Mhm.
use, but people have to use the product to know that the product is good. But if there's
Right,
already a bias towards a local product, then
right.
that presents a
A
barrier.
challenge.
a
Yeah.
challenge.
So
So
what I mean, that's why I changed markets. So that's one of the things that I definitely did. So we were in logistics, transportation, right, delivery, and the trust, the amount of trust that you needed to operate in that space was very high, and you had to get a lot of people to trust you. You had to get customers, you had to get drivers, you had to get store owners, everybody. It's just a lot of trust. How do I get my money? How you make money? Why you make money? It's just there's all of that energy in the space. So I found that it was better to become more one-to-one with my business relationships. So my current clientele, I'm working on their sites. I'm helping them to implement technical solutions into their businesses. And by working through those smaller, city, meetings and situations, I think I work on developing trust in those groups, and then it spreads because they give me recommendations to other people. And also you start to see Gizada software alongside a lot of larger names. And then you start to say, oh no, like everything that's working is them billing it. So they might be onto something. So
yeah,
that's kind of how I'm working at it now. And eventually when we have enough, revenue to spend money on trust, we will do that as well.
yeah,
But I think the most important thing for us to solve was to make it certain that our stuff is so solid that when we do get people to try it, there is no way for them to have any sense of doubt because they're already inclined not to trust you. So you can't make the mistake. That's the privilege that I don't have as a developer. My
yeah.
stuff has to work great the first
Almost out
time,
of the box. Yeah,
right
yeah.
out of
You
the
only get,
box.
you only get
There's
one opportunity to
one
prove.
chance. There's no time to improve, even though that's the nature of software. You get patches and updates and improvements. No one has the patience to watch, developers like me do that. So we have to make sure that we come really good from the start. Otherwise, we just have to deal with that, that doubt
Yeah,
that we've inherited.
yeah. And that's it's unfortunate, but again, inherent bias, as you said, that we have. And you said something about trust. Trust is important, but when you know it's not unfounded completely, because we have had bad experiences with local company. We know that in a lot of, let me talk about Jamaica. The customer service is not really there. So you invest in a product, you're using the product, something goes wrong, and you're trying to get through to the company to say, hey, something is going wrong. And it's a hassle because the aftercare is not there. The
It's not
follow-up
there.
is not
Yeah.
there, the service is not there.
Yeah.
And in that way it's understandable. But I remember a couple years ago, I was working for this company, and one of the things that we did was like think tanks for
Mhm.
companies who want to launch a new product into the market. And I remember there was this company that wanted to launch a product. It's an app where you can go on the app and find parts for your vehicle. We all know how
Mhm.
difficult it is sometimes, depending on the model of vehicle that you have, to find parts
Mhm.
for it. You're driving up all over the place. So what this app was supposed to do was help you locate vehicle parts.
Fact.
When we brought the sellers into the think tank and asked them, okay, what do you think? Did a presentation and everything, and what do you think about it? The biggest problem they had was trust. Because how do I know that you are not going to sell my inventory data or
Mhm.
share my inventory data with my competitor? And I'm
Yeah.
like, why would we do why would we do that? They would not have access to that information. And no amount of explaining to them how the system actually works and why there would have been no way that a competitor could get access to inventory information. It was no bueno. It was,
Yeah.
they like the idea of it,
Yeah.
they understand where they could benefit from it, actually make money from it. But that
Yeah.
fear that they had, that mistrust, and there was
Mhm.
no reason. This is a new company, but it was a local company. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, there's more impetus for you to sell my information to another competitor for money. So that's another issue again when it comes to, I don't trust you to keep my information safe. And
Same.
with some of these products, you necessarily have to share information with the company that's, developing the product, etc. And I don't trust you to keep my information
Information.
safe.
Same. Yeah.
How do you overcome an innate mistrust or distrust of, just because of proximity? Really, the mistrust is
True.
just because they wouldn't have that same complaint for a non-Jamaican entity. So how do
Right.
you overcome mistrust?
Well, you also just have to earn the trust of people that they trust. So if they see my brand delivering for companies that are bigger than theirs or have more to lose than theirs, and they're like, okay, that company trusts them, then I have no reason to justify, you know, not trusting them as well. So in that way, you just have to. It's I have to go and do some software for some foreign clients as well. You know, like that type of delivery is what's going to make people look at Gizada and say, "Oh wow, like there are no limits." You know, but until we show them that, we're going to definitely be in their minds in a certain box. But it's the fight that we've inherited. I'm not really want to complain about it. I think at the end of the day, when we do get over that hurdle and we do have that trust, I think that there are so many people waiting on the products that we are bringing to the market that once we do get over that hurdle, it will just be a waterfall.
All right. So let's talk about, uh, adoption. So when we're talking about adoption in terms of technology software, what we're talking about is the accepting, integrating, and using technology, for a particular target audience or just within a society. And there are several stages. So you have people like you who develop the software, put the software out, and then you have the early adopters to include, people that do the testing, and they're the ones who begin to use the new technology, maybe talk about it, share it with their friends, etc. And then you have the early majority and the late majority, which represent the bulk of the users. So I am not necessarily going to. I know that this thing exists, but I'm not going to necessarily use it until I see other people use it and then see what them say about it before I actually use it. And then
Yeah,
you have those who, they are the last to adopt the technology, sometimes kicking and screaming because they're used to doing things in
a certain way.
a particular way, and then
Yeah,
this thing could make how they do things easier, but do they want to bother with the hassle of integrating this new thing? So that's what we mean by adoption. So for you, Chris, what are some of the issues that you have had or challenges that you have had, because you have a couple products out on the market, right?
yes, 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 yes,
So there's Get There,
yes.
which is a ride sharing app,
Right, and like a courier platform as well.
right?
Yeah,
So right.
and we have Jamaica, which is, as I say, like our business such web management platform.
Yeah.
Um, Challenges with adoption before COVID and after COVID, they're two different Jamaicas essentially. So, um, before COVID, we have a situation where nobody believes in anything that we're trying to promote as far as software. And no one needs to change. There's no impetus to change what's already working, especially not for most of the businesses that have already established themselves in the market. For But after COVID, we have a situation where there are even, government campaigns pushing entrepreneurs and businesses to set up e-commerce and, social distance and use technology to enable the ability for the community to, stay sanitized and socially distant. So with that new attitude, the issue with people's willingness to try technology, not that hard anymore. But what I find is we have issues with data. Um, so that's more like an infrastructure challenge. So where is data available and how much does it cost at any given time? And Another challenge that I think is really squeezing the market is the challenge of payment processing. So the cost to get a good payment processor set up on a site or on an application, is very high. So I don't know if that's necessarily user adoption, but it definitely makes it difficult for a startup to say that they're going to even experiment with getting to customers and trying to charge customers for a service because of the upfront cost of payments based on the payment processes that are available to us. So I think those are some of our main challenges that hurt with chasing adoption. But I think we just have to, as I say, find more and more creative ways. I've seen companies do voucher programs. They work with different type of payment methods to do the collections outside of the regular payment rails. So I guess at the end of the day, the entrepreneurs are gonna just try to do what they're trying to do, but without solving some of those underlying problems, I don't know if we're going to see the market do what it should do in terms of allowing much more people to come in and innovate.
And
But the question has to be asked if that is what we want in the first place, because we
but
don't set up the environment in a way that says that we do.
we say we want it, which is the whole idea of intentionality versus action. Is
Mhm,
are the things that we're saying we want to see, a digital future for Jamaica. Um,
mhm,
we're talking about it, we're using the buzzwords, but are we actually investing in it? And I'm not just talking about investing in it from a government standpoint, but as citizens, as everyday
mhm.
people. How many apps do we have on our phones, and how many of these applications are local
Are
based
made,
applications?
yeah,
Right. There's even an issue with adoption in terms of banking apps,
yeah,
that are usually pretty popular, and apps are expensive to build and maintain.
yes,
And if
yes,
you
yes, yes,
don't have the buy-in or the adoption of these
right.
apps and people using these apps, then it's almost like a waste of money, because you're spending all this money to develop it and maintain it, but you're not getting the user buy-in
User
from it.
back,
And
yeah.
then what happens after that, Chris? What happens when you create an app, you put it out on the market, and you're not getting buy-in? What can eventually happen in a situation like that?
Well, I mean, if you have a good piece of software, you try and sell it to a different market. So that's one approach, I suppose. If you can license your solution into a different market, get it to work somewhere else, or you pivot, change how you generate revenue, target a small audience, or
Yep.
you just give up on the idea. We can't we can't take that off of the table. If the market isn't reacting in a way, even if it's something that the market would benefit from, you can't force the horse to drink, even when you bring it to the pond. So you brought it, you've shown it that there is something good here, but you can't insist that it takes it. And if it doesn't, then it's time for you to save yourself some time and try it somewhere else or pivot into another solution. I think one of the main things that would, if we can look at I just want to point to, if we can look at the banking app, you said that even that is getting, is having a challenge. That's a really big problem. That's a common utility that I think everybody would benefit from having. So I think it would be important to study, like, what are the reasons that are making people reluctant to use mobile banking. And I my hunch is that it has a lot to do with data, the cost of data, and whether or not they're able to access these things without paying money upfront to even get into their account. So you can imagine, people are complaining about ATM fees. If you want to use a mobile bank, you still have to pay either Flow or Digicel before you're able to access, this banking platform. And if you look at the platforms that are zero rated by the networks, they're not local products. They zero rate Facebook to a certain degree, Twitter and so on to a certain degree, but not, that courtesy, that opportunity isn't very accessible to the average developer getting started. So how are you, with no money to market and in a place where the velocity of money is slow, so people aren't just spendthrifts. They are very considerate about what they're spending on. How are you going to, get to those people? They don't even have the data to spend on visiting what you're offering.
Yep. And it's funny, you know, and that's a very good point. Actually, I didn't even think about that. I remember Scotia. I think it was Scotia. I think Scotia app is zero rated. I
Okay,
think that was a part of their marketing. But
right.
that's an interesting point because we use social media apps without even thinking,
Hmm.
and going into one of the issues I see is people talking about, oh well, they're gonna have access to my data, not realizing how much data we're actually giving to these social media platforms
Right.
and how they're actually using our data. But you see, it's not local, so we trust them.
Trust them.
And
Yes.
to be fair, these some for marketers like myself or people, small business, small creators who really have to be online to survive, it's a useful tool. It becomes an
Tool. Yep.
interim business tool. and
Yep.
and and so they will invest in an app like later for planning and scheduling or one of these other apps,
Hmm.
but then they're not looking to see what's in the local space
Local space.
that
Yep.
was created with me in mind, which means it serves my purpose even better, that I can
Right.
use
Right.
with all these other things. And maybe it is that our focus is unlimited, which I honestly think it is. When it comes to digital platforms, we have a very limited or narrow view on what digital is. We're very much
Yep.
social media. We have not really expanded out
Right.
into the other digital spaces. And that may
Yep.
be a problem too. So we're not investing in those other spaces because we're using quote unquote these free social
Free.
media based tools,
Yep.
and thinking, yeah, that's sufficient, right, when sometimes it's really not.
Right.
But Chris, moving the conversation on, I wish we had a little bit more time, but I want to talk about product market fit because that's coming up. That's a part of the discussion. Are they not investing because the product that is on the market does not satisfy that market? Is not, we never ask your feet. We didn't ask you for this product. Why are you making this product? Who is this
Right.
product for?
For.
uh,
Right.
yeah, so you the developer have an idea about a type of product that you want to create, but did you
Hmm.
actually test the market to see if the market will be interested in a product like this? And if they are interested in a product like this, how can we make the product accessible to them? Because somebody just now talked about the unbanked population. So some of the products that we're making may not even reach the people who it needs to reach
People.
because the infrastructure is not formalized, right? These
Right.
people fall outside of formalized sectors, infrastructure, etc. So,
Yes.
so product market fit. We're talking about the value of the product. Is it gonna do customers want it? Then we have to talk about the viability of the product for the
Hmm.
developer. You should you be creating this product, and then
Hmm.
how feasible is it to support the requirements to deliver the product in the particular quality that you want to deliver the product in? So how do you maintain the standard? Do you have enough resources to maintain the standard? And that's a conundrum because you depend on adoption to be able
Yes.
to
To be
generate
maintained.
the
Yep.
resources to deliver the
Yep.
product at a particular quality standard. But then if
Yep.
you don't get the buy-in, you're at odds. How do you navigate that?
S- To be honest, the first step for me is managing cost.
Yeah.
So because you know that adoption is slow and that there are so many barriers to entry, it is going to be pretty important to make sure that you don't have a lot of high costs running while you're trying to get off of the ground because that will bury you. So that's been one of my main strategies. Trying to innovate almost so much internally so
Mhm.
that we have the lowest operating costs as possible so
Yeah.
that we can survive for long enough in the market to be able to grow in the space.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate. The unfortunate truth is that there is very little infrastructure or like firm foundation for entrepreneurship on in the region, right? So anyone who is starting is going to be burdened with having to do everything very carefully and consider all areas of the business very, very carefully before they before they even focus on their ideal. Like you have to make sure that your light bill is low, that your cost of operations in every way is low, and everything is very, very tight, very lean, right? Before you even start to focus on putting your ideal forward. And that's why I speak about things like the cost of the payment processors, because I think it's hundreds of dollars a month for someone to even be able to process a charge locally. And I think
Yes.
that's insane,
To even get the link to put on your website so you
to
can
put on, yeah,
process it. It's
to process payments.
hundreds of
It's insane.
US dollars.
US dollars, right? They
Yeah,
don't even price it locally. So,
yeah,
it's those things are the things that make it nearly impossible for most people to start and to even sustain. So, I've always just I hop through all the hoops necessary to keep costs low and then focus more on the product. I test it a lot with friends and family and my colleagues. So everybody around me has ended up using my app. It's something that they can't avoid. And essentially, I spend a lot of time gathering their feedback. So I do test a lot with the market, I suppose, through my own local network community and their friends and family as well, who come into the platforms and give me feedback. And that's what I've had to learn. That's not how I started. Everybody thinks that I have a great idea, I built it, and I'm gonna put some ads out and people are gonna buy into it. I learned through Get There that that's not the reality. You have to go and caretake about every other part of the business, because when you the story of popular entrepreneurship in over time is that you get a good idea and you put it out there, somebody's gonna help you get it to the next stage. There's investment and funding and support systems and grants nearby. In our region, that doesn't exist. So
yeah.
you're going to have to solve every single step of the ladder yourself.
Yourself.
It's
Yeah.
not just about the idea. You're going to have to reinvent the wheel that exists in the markets that we get stories from. You're going to have to build the wheel yourself and then push your cart. You're not going to be able to go and pick up a few wheels at the store and keep running.
Yeah. So build it and they will come is a lie.
Yes, not in our
It's
region.
not in
That is
our
not happening.
not in our region, and you see again it's because of how low tech we are traditionally, and um something I'm going to say every week, guys. Digital literacy is also an issue for us, and when we're because we're not a digital culture, we're not curious necessarily about digital products, so we tend to use the products that everybody else is using. We tend to use the same social media platforms, we tend to use the same apps, so we don't explore in the space to see what else is available, to see if it's a right fit for us, right? So and that has a lot to do with literacy, and it has a lot to do with just culture, and we
Yeah.
are very much a word of mouth kind of people still.
Yes.
And so word of mouth marketing is still very big in Jamaica, so it takes other people telling us that it is
Telling
good.
us. Yes.
Sometimes non-Jamaican people, lots of times non-Jamaican people telling us that, oh, actually this is good, before we go, oh, is it, let me check it out, right?
Check it
So
out. Yeah.
sometimes it takes external reinforcement or external validation for us to
Right.
actually start going out and looking at this particular thing, and it's unfortunate.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely unfortunate. But Chris, what are some of the things, so you just told us about some of the things that you have done to kind of overcome these challenges. What I'm concerned about, based on all of what you said, was that it's an additional, I don't want to say burden, because you're running a business in a capitalist market, so it's either do or die for you. You have to figure that part out. But I'm concerned
Hmm.
that in a fledgling tech market like the Caribbean, that is a lot for a small business to have to overcome and do and adjust and fix and wiggle them way and bend themselves and come back again. It's a lot to have to do while focusing on building quality products, while focus it just seems like a lot.
Hmm.
the
It
hurdles
is.
the hurdles are a lot, and I'm not sure if that's sustainable.
So, I mean, yeah, it's rough. I wouldn't do it again, but I recently visited some family, because my mom is from Trinidad, so I went to visit family there. And someone at a birthday party was talking about, the opportunities that are available to this generation that simply were not available to the previous generation. So I'm not of the opinion that I have it any easier than my father or grandfather or his father or mother and so on would have had. I know that the process of creating a marketplace that we can thrive in has been hard. And this is simply like my cross to bear during the time that I'm going to serve. So it is what it is. I think being very honest about how it is important so that
Yeah.
people don't come into this space thinking that they're going to have the same experiences that they hear about. It is rewarding. I do get to work on things that I care about all the time, and I am very, very happy about that. And there are parts of this work experience that have been extremely fulfilling, and I wouldn't give it up. I wouldn't do it again, but I don't think I'm not saying anybody should ever have to do it again. By the time my generation is done with our phase of entrepreneurship, we should have set a stage that would allow another set to start up a lot easier. And it has to continue to build up in that way. The fact that I even have the opportunity to try and be an entrepreneur, as I say, I'm a black Rasta man, like almost first of his kind. So I'm going to try to continue making it easier for people like me to come into this space to start business. Whether it is in 50 years, I can finance them or give them a network that helps them to get started.
And that's an awesome outlook to have. So it's almost as if we're going through the struggle, kind of seeing what's happening in the system. Again, it's a relatively new market in terms of SaaS, Caribbean based and owned SaaS companies. And so you're going through the trials and tribulations of being first to market in a lot of areas, and kind of
Mhm.
figuring out, and then making it better. And that's very commendable. But I want to talk about, and we're wrapping up now because Kristofferson is here. So I want to talk about
Big up, Chris.
I want to talk about Christopher Jamaica, because I think this is one of the best productivity slash website building slash it this tool does so many different things, and I'm like, y'all need to know about it and y'all need to use it because you're missing out. So if you use Calendly and you use Google Calendar and you use Wix or for Squarespace or whatever, this app can replace all of these other utility apps or productivity apps that you use. So tell us about JA Maker, Chris, before you go.
Sure. So, you give a pretty good overview. I would just try to glue it together by, it's you set up an office. Every business person can kind of imagine that concept. You'll have a doorway, people will come inside, there'll be a receptionist, and there'll be some offices, maybe some shelves if you're selling products. But you set up an office, it's a place you go into and you get stuff done. In As I've described, I've had to make sure that our costs are low to even survive doing business. So that's what Jamaica was for us. We needed to combine all of these tools into something that wouldn't run, us thousands of dollars a month, and just be able to use it in a central, organized way. Everyone has the access to what they need to have access to. And it just helps us to run our business, and therefore it became a product. And I am now in the process of promoting it, getting as many people to try it out and use
Yeah.
it. And what it essentially is a digital office. So if you need to set up a website, it can host the website. If you need to, have a calendar for your team, that's in there. It supports accounting, and it's really robust, and it is the foundation of how we operate Gizzard and manage all of our clientele. And
Yeah.
so on. So we use it every day, and I think anything that you use every day is probably something that you would be able to sell to other people. At least
Yeah.
they won't believe that you're selling them snake oil because you are taking the medicine yourself.
And Chris is underselling this thing because, guys, it also has a function where you can do your own team meetings, like Zoom
Hmm.
function, or you can do your own
Yeah,
team meetings. You can track teams, so it's like a Slack function. Guys, check it out. jamaker.com. Invest in local tech, invest in Caribbean tech. Because we say buy black, don't we mean buy black people things. That's what we mean. Right, with your money. Yes, money, not just out. We want the money as well because it takes money to get these businesses up and running, to maintain these businesses, especially when you're making software, where software goes through so many iterations before it gets to really, really great. And even when it's at really, really
yes,
great, systems change
still.
so much that it
Hmm.
requires a lot of effort to maintain. Chris, thank you so much for
No
being on the
problem.
show and talking to us about what the reality of the market is like for software development and SaaS-based companies. Really appreciate you being here.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Always look forward to it.
All right then, Chris. Take care, guys. Up next,
Mhm.
we have uh, on the people and product. We have Kristofferson Nunes. He's the marketing coordinator for one-on-one educational services, and he's going to be talking about a collaboration between his company and GSS for a summer program that they are currently running that you really need to know about because it looks really good. So we'll be right back. All right, guys. So we are back with Kristofferson. Hi, Kristofferson. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good actually. I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing, Kadia?
I'm good. Thank you for being here. I love the new do.
What new do?
I love the new. It's a growth. It's a come. It's a come.
It a come, it a
It's
come.
a
I like it.
come. How is Junior?
He's good. He's growing well, so I have to give thanks for that. He's healthy, so everything is good. I have to give thanks and be grateful every
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Missed the updates though.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I missed the updates. They were cute. They were cute. I was like, this is so cute. We love this.
I get you. I get you. Well, updates will come. Updates will come. I feel like social media been a noisy space, so I'll
It
take
it
a step
is.
back.
It has
So
become very noisy. I definitely understand taking a step back. But Chris, you're here to talk about one-on-one educational services. You guys are doing big, big things going on, stock exchange excitement.
one bag of
Um,
things.
one bag of things you guys are doing, but you're specifically here to talk about a summer training program. So what is this collaboration about?
Oh, sure, definitely. So the collaboration is one-on-one. I built out a summer career platform that
Mhm.
pretty much will upskill 16 to 20-year-olds on specific skill sets. Digital
Yeah.
skills, like you mentioned earlier, on accounting skills and business, IT from such as web development and even industrial design. And it's
Mhm.
completely free. And part of that is how can we get 20,000 students across the island
Mhm.
job ready? How can we get them employed? How them can we get them resume worthy? How can them get them, even doing remote jobs for companies that looking to find regional talents,
Yeah.
right? How can we position them to be the next generation of digital leaders as we have coming up? So the platform is really built on upskilling our youth, but also engaging them. So we have like a
Yeah.
career XP dashboard that pretty much rewards them based on points. Maybe they could have a one-on-one interview with you, Kadia, as a mentor. Maybe they unlock a resume revamp. Maybe they unlock different gift vouchers to different spaces. But the idea is how can we make learning fun, but at the end of the day, impactful?
Oh, for sure. So, you're targeting youth between what age group?
Sure, we're targeting students between 16 to 20 across the island.
Okay, is it, well, 16 to 20 is like high school going into college, right?
Yes, Yes, so you're looking on your fifth formers or your fourth to fifth, sixth formers, persons
Mm.
who are even looking to find alternative education after CXC fifth form, who
Mm.
are very um, unknown on what to do if they want to go straight into university, if they want to take a year off to just figure out something. I think this platform
Yeah.
is a great platform for you to explore those careers.
Yeah, and you say that the program is absolutely free. There are no hidden charges, no hidden fees.
Absolutely free. No
Okay.
hidden charges, nothing like that.
You see, sometimes though, Kristofferson, in my experience though, and I wanted to tell me how you guys are overcoming this. In my experience with Jamaicans, they see something is free, and it's the value that it would have had if it was something that they paid for, and the investment that they
Yeah,
would have made when it's something that they would have paid for is vastly different. So you find people sign up for the freeness and then them come sometime and then not come sometime,
sometimes
and that
correct.
way it reduces the impact that you're trying to make with the program, the objectives that you had going in. How are you
Yeah,
guys overcoming that? Because we like free enough, free good enough,
yeah,
but
free is
how
good.
but how do we make people understand that not because it's free it is still valuable, and you need to invest the same amount of effort into getting as much as you can out of the program.
Sure. So, you're looking on, tangible benefits if you actually pay for something like this.
Yeah.
So you get your certification like from Heart based on your completed courses. You're
Mm.
getting internship and study tour experiences. So, for example, persons can walk away with a study tour experience from the lab. They're
Mm.
offering a cinematography study tour experience
Ooh,
where
ooh,
15
ooh.
students could learn cinematography from them, plus a job shot experience from some of their top execs and paid internships. Things like
Ooh.
that you want to put in a time in base of is free, right? And then you're looking at other partners who are bringing in different things. Not to give the green light, but even some a green light is we got the go ahead to extend the program to November 15th. So now it allows more students to be a part of it, to get the time needed to finish their courses, to assimilate their understanding of what they want to do. But also, if a student want to even use it as a way to volunteer hours, they could use those time on the platform to substitute for their volunteer hours. We have
Okay.
that infrastructure to kind of pull out that report. So let's
Okay.
say, KD, you're a sixth form student and you need 30 hours community service. Your time on the platform learning could be volunteer hours. So,
Okay.
two birds with one stone. So
Yeah,
we're
for
looking
sure.
to intertwine the whole student experience from a game perspective. So it's really a gamification platform. Even
Mhm.
how they engage with the material is a game like True and False, Hangman, and things like that.
So you're making
So
it interesting and fun.
yeah, it's not gonna be boring like, oh, you read through a couple notes and you click through slides. Nah, it's more so a community. So even if you don't know the answers, you can tap into who is online now from the community, or tap into the group forums to ask questions, to pick
Mhm.
anybody brain, and just kind of help from your assignments moving forward.
Yeah. So you said your program has been extended to only so much, so much free things in again. So much,
Greetings.
because if people were to, because some of these just the paid internships alone is a big deal. So you said you've gotten to go ahead to extend till November. So are you taking persons? Are you still registering people for the program?
Yeah, so registration is still open on the platform at careersunlock.org.
Mm.
And persons have opportunity to opt in. We have a special prize, daily prizes each day based off your engagement. You get points for logging on, and your points can be used to unlock different things. So is I believe for a student you can unlock so much. You can unlock driving lessons if you want to unlock driving lessons
Oh,
as a student. You can unlock a Brescia bag if you want to unlock a Brescia bag based on your points. Movie tickets if you want to unlock. If you want to unlock a one-on-one mentorship session with different industry experts, or even just a lunch hour session with different role models you may have. So we're looking to build into a product that unlocks your career, literally.
yeah, for sure. And this is a 6 week program.
So initially it was 6 weeks for the summer, but now we're extending it to November 15th. So you're looking at almost a semester based program.
So how long is the actual program itself? How many weeks they spend in the program?
So it's self-paced, so they can
Oh, okay.
invest. they can invest at least 3 hours a week on the platform, to be honest.
Okay, so it's they can work out how much time they need to
Exactly.
complete things. So at the end of it, what happens at the end?
So at the end of it, they get their certificates of completion based on the courses, all
Right.
accredited by Heart. They get the boot camp certificates as well, but also based off their, I would say, in-depth journey, they get the fringe prizes like the internships, the gift vouchers, the one-on-one mentorship sessions or the group mentorship sessions. Different prizes they can unlock like a driving lesson or there's we have a whole lot of lists coming out. Like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. So guys, how can they sign up for the program? Where do they go to sign up?
Sure. So the person sign up by going on the website platform, careersunlocked.org, and just
Right.
click the registration button and just follow the procedure.
What are they? Do they need any particular documentation? Do they need any pre-qualification
No,
to
not at all. So it's really just to share who they are. Persons can use their school email address to sign up or their
Mhm.
Google address to sign up. And they just ask for basic information like your name, the school you attend or attended, and a few CSET subjects you've done. But nothing to really act as a barrier for you to sign up.
So anybody can do it. Everybody can get approved for jump on and do it,
Nah,
Kristofferson.
nah, it's just only 16 to 20-year-olds.
Right.
But
I mean,
not,
anybody
I'm not
between 16 and
saying,
20 can do it. Can jump on,
yeah,
and
yeah,
once we sign up, automatically I got get in.
automatically getting in.
Okay. Okay. So
And it's not to
no.
say either, not to say either if you're 21, you're not to say you can't lie and you want us to jump the fence and join the dance. But
Christopher, we
you
can't
know,
believe saying
education
jump on.
education should be accessible, you know. So
For sure. For
um
sure.
so nonetheless.
So nonetheless, all right, Christopherson, is there anything else coming up? So say for instance, I'm over 21 or I'm not
Yeah.
yet 16. Do you guys have any other programs in the pipeline that may be coming out that I need to pay attention to? Or maybe you can't tell us exactly what it is, but
Sure.
pay attention. Anything else coming out?
Well, for students outside the age range, and let's say they want to re-enter back to the enter world, we have something coming out that's called one-on-one for professionals, so they can learn to upskill themselves
Mhm.
from actual industry experts.
Yes.
And two, we our existing products where students can get online learning for CXC and CAPE exams coming up.
Right.
So those are two different things based on the demography acts that could tap in, our sexy platform, and the one-on-one for professionals coming up.
All right, so hear that, guys. One-on-one has a whole suite of services and trainings and stuff that you can jump into, not just the summer program, but ongoing. You can jump into, get
Yeah.
trained, upskill yourself so you can become more marketable.
Facts.
Because CXC and even degree alone now, because these days you need certain technical skills to get into certain markets. Christopherson, anything else you want to say in signing off?
For me, it's just really just to encourage the youth persons to take advantage of these free educational tools at their
Yeah.
disposal. And of course, just to share what they want to learn. We're
Yeah.
very open from a platform development standpoint to say, how can we help you to be the next professional that you want to be?
Mhm.
you know and just ask for help. If don't be afraid to ask for help or ask someone to mentor you, because we want to include a mentorship campaign based on the platform, so
Yeah.
persons can opt into virtual mentorship sessions. Persons who they look up to and ask questions. But nonetheless, I just want to encourage everybody to sign up, or if you know anybody to sign up, just sign them up for them. If you know any other youth persons that of the age, sign them up for them. At the end of the day, it's really beneficial to everybody.
Right. And I don't think you can be too knowledgeable, and I don't think you can have too many skills, especially in this
Facts.
day and age. So if you know any young people in your community that you think would benefit from this, it goes up to November. Get them registered on the platform and get them learning. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate
Thank you so much
you
for
coming
having me.
on. And congratulations to One on One and GSS, because this is really, really it's timely, it's a timely program, and it's really
Yeah.
something that can have a greater impact on what we're all trying to do. Because Chris, I think you occupy the same space I occupy, which is that digital space, and getting people learning digital literacy, getting people trained, getting people marketable,
Yeah.
especially in a market like ours that tends to be low skilled. And so BPO not really work out for everybody, so I'm gonna go get the free trading. Thank you,
Well,
Chris.
no problem, no problem. But thanks again for having me.
I'm not dragging you into that one. I'm not dragging you into that one. But thanks for being here, Chris. Take care.
All right, take care.
Yeah, man. Guys, that's it for our show today. Thank you so much for staying with us. We had a really good conversation with Chris. Just wanted you to understand what obtains in terms of trying to build products for the Jamaican market, for the Caribbean market. Jamaicans are hard people to convince of certain things, especially we're kind of set in our ways kind of thing. And so adoption is very hard in the Jamaican market. And a lot of businesses have that challenge, and now tech businesses are having that challenge. So, it's good for us to have these conversations to see what are some of the things that we can do to help these small businesses overcome these challenges and grow, because we don't only want to be users of tech, we want to be the innovators in the tech space. And if we're going to do that, it means that we're going to have to put our money where our intentions are. Guys, coming up next week on the show, Matthew Dawkins. He's a writer, poet, and creator, and an upcoming author. He has a brand new novel dropping, I think, in September. He's going to be on the show to talk to us about, what is like being a Wattpad sensation. Matthew got his start on Wattpad. He's very popular on the platform, and how he has been able to use that platform to grow his following, and to now launch his own novel. He's also going to be talking to us about how he's unstereotyping Caribbean authors and Caribbean writing, because we tend to put people in boxes in the Caribbean. It's something that we do. I think we do it unconsciously, but it is something that we do. So when we see somebody doing something that is out of the box, we kind of look at it side eye, skeptical like. So he's going to talk about how his process is different, and the unique ways that he approaches character development and just storytelling in general. And even though it's steeped in tradition, he's finding new ways to tell stories and become visible on platforms like Wattpad. So if you're interested in that, join us next week for another Digital Jamaica Live. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter. And if you're interested in what we are, what we're doing, what is the whole point of Digital Jamaica, visit our website, thedigitaljamaica.com. We may even collaborate. We're always open to collaborating. If you want to appear on the show because you have a new product or service in the tech or digital space that you want to, advertise or put out there, make sure that you get in touch with us. Also visit the page www.thedigitaljamaica.com/live. Guys, I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye.